The breaking point, the distress signal from Horizon Prime, reached Earth exactly 36 hours too late. Commander Elena Vasquez stood frozen in the command center of Terra Station 1, watching the recorded footage that would forever change humanity's role in the galaxy. The images were crystal clear, transmitted by hidden surveillance drones that had witnessed everything. 23,000 human colonists, including 8,000 children, had been methodically exterminated by the Vorthan Empire's shock troops. The official reason given by the Vorthans was territorial dispute resolution, but everyone who watched knew the truth. This was a calculated message to humanity about their position in the galactic food chain. For 200 years, Earth had walked the path of diplomacy. When humanity first discovered faster-than-light travel and encountered the vast galactic community, they had been shocked by the brutality of interstellar politics. The strong dominated the weak without mercy. Ancient empires carved up space like medieval lords dividing kingdoms. Yet Earth had chosen differently. They joined the Galactic Assembly as peaceful members, accepting restrictions on their expansion, tolerating unfair trade agreements, and responding to every provocation with measured diplomatic protests. When the Vorthans had seized 3 human cargo vessels last year, Earth had filed formal complaints. When they had imprisoned human merchants on fabricated charges, Earth had negotiated for their release. Always patient, always peaceful, always trying to prove that there was a better way. The massacre at Horizon Prime shattered that illusion forever. Elena turned to face the assembled members of Earth's United Defense Council. The room was silent except for the hum of electronics and the occasional sob from someone still processing the horror they had witnessed. These were not just statistics or distant casualties. Every person in this room knew someone who had been on Horizon Prime. Friends, family members, colleagues who had traveled to the stars with dreams of building something beautiful. Now they were gone, murdered to prove a point about power and dominance. Defense Secretary Marcus Chen was the first to speak, his voice barely containing decades of suppressed rage. They targeted the schools first. The footage shows they went for the children deliberately, to break the adults' will to resist. This wasn't military action. This was terrorism on a planetary scale. The other council members nodded grimly. For too long, they had mistaken human restraint for human weakness. The galaxy's powers had grown bold, pushing harder against Earth's boundaries, taking more liberties with each passing year. The Vorthan Empire, in particular, had been testing humanity's patience, probably encouraged by the lack of visible military response to previous provocations. President Diana Morgan stood slowly, her decision already made before she entered the room. For 2 centuries we have pursued peace above all else. We have shown mercy when others showed brutality. We have offered friendship when others offered only domination. The massacre at Horizon Prime has proven that our mercy is seen as weakness, our friendship as submission. Today that changes. She paused, looking at each council member in turn. I call for the activation of Protocol 7. The room erupted in whispers. Protocol 7 had been created at the very beginning of humanity's expansion into space, a contingency plan that most had hoped would never be needed. It was humanity's answer to the question, what if peaceful coexistence becomes impossible? The vote was unanimous. Every hand raised without hesitation. Within minutes, a transmission was being broadcast across every human colony, research station, and trading post in the galaxy. The message was simple, but carried the weight of humanity's collective decision. To all citizens of Earth and her colonies, you are ordered to return home immediately. In 72 hours, the solar system will implement Defense Protocol 7. Any non-human vessel approaching within 100 light-years of Earth space will be destroyed without warning. This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The galactic community's reaction was predictable and swift. The Vorthan Empire issued statements calling humanity's response an amusing tantrum from an inferior species. Their emperor, Thaxtor the Merciless, personally appeared on galactic broadcasts, his forearms gesturing dismissively as he spoke. The humans think they can threaten the Vorthan Empire, we who have conquered 1,000 worlds, we who have stood unconquered for 3 millennia, let them hide in their single system. When they grow hungry enough, they will crawl back begging for trade agreements. Other species' reactions ranged from concern to outright mockery. The warrior races found humanity's ultimatum hilarious, pointing out that humans had never demonstrated any significant military capability. The merchant guilds worried about trade disruptions but assumed humanity would back down once economic pressure mounted. The older, more established empires simply ignored the announcement, considering it beneath their notice. None of them understood what they had awakened. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in bunkers that had been constructed in absolute secrecy over 2 centuries, lights began turning on. Massive underground facilities that stretched for hundreds of miles hummed to life. These were not military bases in any conventional sense. They were something far more ambitious. For 200 years, while presenting a peaceful face to the galaxy, humanity had been preparing for the possibility that peace might fail. Every scientific advancement had been dual purpose. Every research project had military applications. Every piece of technology traded or stolen from other species had been reverse-engineered and improved upon. The truth was that humanity had never been weak. They had been patient. They had never lacked military might. They had chosen restraint. The merchant vessels and patrol boats that other species mocked were merely what humanity had chosen to show. Like an iceberg, the visible portion was insignificant compared to what lay beneath. In hidden shipyards throughout the solar system, vessels that had been maintained in perfect readiness for decades began their power-up sequences. These were not ships built for war as the galaxy understood it. These were ships built to end war, permanently if necessary. Admiral Sarah Kim stood on the bridge of the TDS Retribution, humanity's true flagship, as it rose from its concealed dock beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The vessel was 3 kilometers long, powered by zero-point energy reactors that humanity had developed in secret after studying captured alien technology and improving upon it in ways the original creators had never imagined. Around her, similar vessels were emerging from hiding places across Earth, Luna, Mars, and the asteroid belt. The fleet that assembled in Earth orbit over the next 48 hours defied galactic understanding of human capabilities. As news of humanity's mobilization reached the Vorthan Empire, Emperor Thaxtor made a decision that would seal his empire's fate. He ordered his Grand Armada, 500 of the most powerful warships in known space, to travel to Earth and put down what he called the human insurrection. He wanted to make an example that would echo through history. No species could threaten the Vorthan Empire and survive. He would finish what the massacre at Horizon Prime had started, the complete subjugation of humanity. The Emperor's advisors tried to counsel caution. The humans had given a specific warning about approaching their space. Perhaps negotiation would be wiser. But Thaxtor had ruled through fear for too long to recognize the danger of cornering a species that had nothing left to lose. He had mistaken humanity's previous mercy for weakness, their diplomacy for cowardice. He was about to learn why Earth had chosen peace not from inability to wage war, but from knowing too well what they were capable of if pushed too far. The massacre at Horizon Prime had not weakened humanity's resolve. It had shattered the chains they had placed upon themselves. The galaxy wanted to see humanity without mercy. They were about to get their wish. The Reckoning. The Vorthan Grand Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, with the confidence of conquerors who had never known defeat. 500 warships, each one a masterpiece of destructive engineering that had laid waste to entire civilizations, arranged themselves in the traditional Vortan battle formation, known as the Crown of Thorns. Admiral Crix, the Emperor's most decorated military commander, stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominator, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh combat lighting. He had personally overseen the destruction of 43 species who had dared resist Vorthan expansion. Humanity would be number 44. The Admiral's tactical display showed Earth's defensive fleet arranged in concentric spheres around their home world. The numbers were surprising, nearly 2,000 vessels, but Crix was unconcerned. Numbers meant nothing against Vorthan firepower and centuries of combat experience. He opened a communication channel, his translator rendering his clicking speech into the crude sounds of human language. Forces of Earth, I am Admiral Crix of the Vorthan Empire. Your 72 hours have expired, yet you remain defiant. Surrender now and your species will be permitted to survive as servants. Resist and you will share the fate of your colony on Horizon Prime. The response came from Admiral Sarah Kim aboard the Retribution. Her voice was calm, almost conversational, which unsettled some of the younger Vorthan officers. Admiral Crix, you were warned not to approach our space. That warning was not given lightly. You have exactly 60 seconds to reverse course and leave. This is the only mercy humanity will offer. After that, what happens is on your head. Crix's mandibles clicked in amusement. The human truly believed her inferior fleet could stand against the might of the Vorthan Empire. He would enjoy teaching her otherwise. The 60 seconds passed in silence. Then space itself seemed to bend around the Vorthan fleet. What happened next would be studied by military theorists for millennia, assuming any survived to study it. The human ships did not fire conventional weapons. They did not launch missiles or project energy beams. Instead, they fundamentally altered the laws of physics in localized areas around the Vorthan vessels. Gravity increased 10,000-fold in some areas, crushing dreadnoughts into points of ultra-dense matter. Time dilated in others, aging ships and crews to dust in seconds while the rest of the universe watched. Quantum uncertainty was weaponized, causing Vorthan vessels to exist in multiple states, simultaneously before collapsing into nothingness. Admiral Crix watched in horror as his invincible armada was dismantled not through conventional warfare but through the application of scientific principles. The Vorthans had never even theorized. The humans had not built weapons. They had built reality manipulation devices. Every natural law that the galaxy took for granted became a weapon in human hands. The electromagnetic force was reversed in targeted areas, causing atomic bonds to fail. The strong nuclear force was negated, turning matter into expanding clouds of quarks. The weak nuclear force was amplified, triggering instant radioactive decay in any material the humans chose. 15 minutes. That was how long it took for the entire Vorthan Grand Armada to cease existing, not destroyed in any conventional sense, but removed from reality through methods that defied understanding. Only the Dominator remained, held in place by forces Admiral Crix could not comprehend. Admiral Kim's face appeared on his communication screen, her expression showing neither joy nor anger, only grim determination. You are alive because we choose to let you live. You will return to your Emperor and deliver this message exactly as I give it to you. Humanity spent 2 centuries choosing peace. We developed technologies that could end civilizations, and we chose not to use them. We created weapons that could unmake stars, and we kept them hidden. We mastered forces that could rewrite reality itself, and we restrained ourselves. She paused, ensuring the weight of her words was understood. The massacre at Horizon Prime has ended that restraint. From this moment forward, any species that kills a human citizen will face complete annihilation. Not defeat, not conquest, annihilation. We will remove you from existence so thoroughly that future civilizations will question whether you ever existed at all. There will be no negotiations, no terms, no mercy. You wanted to see humanity without our self-imposed limitations. Congratulations, you've succeeded. The transmission ended and Crix found his ship suddenly free to move. As he limped back toward Vorthon space, his sensors detected something that made his heart stop. The human fleet was expanding. Not just patrol ships, but massive construction vessels were emerging from hidden facilities, building new ships at a rate that defied industrial logic. In hours, they had doubled their fleet size. In days, they would have tens of thousands of vessels. The humans had not just been hiding their military. They had been hiding their entire industrial capacity. The news of the Vorthan Grand Armada's complete destruction spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. Empires that had stood for millennia began emergency sessions. Species that had never shown fear began building defensive fleets. The warrior races who had mocked humanity's threats fell silent. Everyone had the same question. If humanity could do this while showing restraint for 2 centuries, what else were they capable of? The answer came in a transmission from Earth that reached every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. A feat of communication technology that itself demonstrated human capabilities. President Diana Morgan appeared on every screen, every hologram, every communication device in known space. Her words were translated into 10,000 languages simultaneously. Citizens of the galaxy, for 200 years, Earth has extended the hand of friendship. We sought trade, not conquest. We pursued knowledge, not domination. We offered mercy to those who showed us none. That era has ended. The massacre at Horizon Prime has shown us that mercy is interpreted as weakness in this galaxy. Therefore, humanity withdraws its mercy. She held up a data pad, reading from it with ceremonial gravity. Effective immediately, the following policies are in effect. Any attack on human citizens will result in the complete dissolution of the attacking species' military forces. Any seizure of human property will result in the economic collapse of the responsible government. Any threat to human colonies will result in the threatening species losing all spacefaring capability permanently. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not declaring war. They were declaring themselves the arbiters of justice in the galaxy, with the power to enforce their will. And based on what had happened to the Vorthan fleet, they could back up their threats. "We do not seek to rule you," President Morgan continued. "We do not desire your territories or your resources. We simply demand to exist without fear of massacre. Those who respect human life will find us the most valuable allies. Those who threaten it will discover why we chose peace not from weakness but from wisdom." Within days, the Vorthan Empire collapsed, not from external attack but from internal panic. Worlds that had been held by force broke away. Subjugated species rose up, knowing the Vorthans could no longer call upon their grand armada. Emperor Thaxtor the Merciless was overthrown by his own guards, who sought to appease humanity before worse consequences arrived. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for 3,000 years fell in less than a week, brought down not by conquest, but by the removal of their ability to project fear. Other empires took notice. The Ketran hegemony, which had been planning its own expansion into human space, quietly abandoned those plans and sent diplomatic envoys with apologies for past misunderstandings. The Dromath Confederation returned human prisoners they had claimed did not exist. The mysterious Void Hunters, who had never acknowledged any species as equals, sent an unprecedented message to Earth, suggesting a mutual non-aggression pact. The galaxy had discovered that humanity's greatest weapon had always been their choice not to use their weapons. A year after the massacre at Horizon Prime, the galaxy had transformed completely. Human ships patrolled trade routes, not claiming them but ensuring they remained free for all species. Human colonies expanded without restriction, as no one dared challenge their right to settle where they chose. Human technology, carefully shared with species that proved themselves peaceful, uplifted entire civilizations. The memorial for Horizon Prime became a pilgrimage site, not just for humans but for all species who understood its significance. It represented the moment when humanity stopped pretending to be weak and revealed their true nature. A species capable of terrible destruction, who had chosen creation, capable of merciless vengeance, who had chosen mercy, until mercy was no longer an option. The inscription on the memorial, translated into every known language, served as both remembrance and warning. Here lies the innocence of 23,000 humans who died believing in peace. Here also lies humanity's mercy, killed by those who mistook kindness for weakness. We forgive nothing. We forget nothing. We have no more mercy to give. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had shown them mercy for 2 centuries. Now they would live with humanity unrestrained, and they would learn to prefer the mercy they had squandered. The massacre at Horizon